My name is Nick Pettit.
My name is Jim Hoskins.
And we have a show on the internet called DocType at doctype.tv. And we'll be talking a little bit about that. But today, I just want to tell you more so some of the things that we've learned by producing content on the internet. And when we first started DocType back in December of 2009, so not that long ago, we were kind of kicking around a couple different ideas. We had done a little bit of audio podcasting, a little bit of video podcasting, and we know the web. I'm a designer, Jim's a developer, and we were like, let's make a show on the internet about making websites. Like there's a couple things out there. There's some screencasts and some podcasts and stuff. But we're like, let's just make the show for making websites. Like that's what we want to be, the show. So before we started, though, the way we got on this whole podcasting kick is something that Jason Fried once said. He said that knowledge is a byproduct. You're running your business, you're doing like Photoshop mock-ups, you're developing something, and all this time you're producing a byproduct that you can sell. You can sell the knowledge that you have. The other observation we had was that nobody can figure out TV right now. I don't have cable, Jim doesn't have cable. We kind of have a mixture of like Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV and YouTube and stuff. But I don't want to pay for 100 channels when I watch 3 of them, basically. And but on the flip side of that, nobody's really figured out how to replace TV completely. You have to have like a bunch of different things to kind of replace that. And I think this, it'll get there eventually, but I think when it does, they're going to be looking for content. And so that's what kind of attracted us to making a video podcast, is we wanted to be like at the forefront of all these new distribution mediums. The third observation we had was that anybody can do this now. The cost of the hardware to make high-def video on the web has been getting lower and lower all the time, and even since we started, it's been getting a lot better. So it's really accessible to anyone that wants to do it, which is really cool. Now, with web shows on the internet, the status quo is screencasts. And screencasts are really great. We do screencasts. I think the problem with screencasts, though, where you're just kind of showing your computer screen, is that you don't ever see the person's face. And I think seeing the person's face is a really powerful psychological effect on how you feel about the content, and there's just so many things. There's the body language you don't get when you just are watching a screencast. So we wanted to show our screens, but we also wanted to show our faces too, and kind of give it a lot more personality. So like I was saying, we have our show called DocType at doctype.tv. This is what our website used to look like. We've just changed it a little bit, and you can go ahead and go there and check out our show. This is what our show kind of looks like. It's like the two of us, standing there, and this is actually our old set. I'll get into that in just a second, but it's just the two of us standing there with our laptops, and we'll cut to our screens and screenshots, and every episode that we release every Tuesday has a segment about design and a segment about development. And we have a couple of ad spots in there as well, to help support the show. And I'm just going to go through a few tips that we learned along the way that hopefully can work for you as well. First, I would say, is plan it. Don't be afraid to spend a lot of time planning a show, because once the train starts rolling and you have to release an episode every week, it's really, really hard to kind of take the time to just improve stuff. You say, okay, well, we really want to get this show rolling, so we'll run with it and we'll fix this stuff later. But that's really pretty challenging to do. So this is actually a picture of me in our old studio, which was in Jim's spare bedroom in his apartment. These are foam mattress pads that we got from Walmart, and that was kind of to like suppress the echo in the room. This is our acoustic treatment that we did for about $100. So, but anyway, there's a lot of talk in the web industry about like, just release it, get it out there, like let people give you feedback. I agree with all that, but in the case of producing content on a weekly basis, I think it's much better to spend the time up front, making all of your motion graphics that you're going to use every week and really planning out the format and figuring out what you're going to do before you just like flip on your iSight and like, hey, it's our show.
And to counter to that, also, sort of set yourself a goal for getting started, because you can plan on it for a while, and that's sort of what we were doing. We were actually sort of getting the idea stages of the show going at last year's Barcamp. We did a presentation sort of on our ideas for it, and we never really had a date. And I had mentioned to somebody we were thinking about launching in November, and we were sort of letting it go and planning, but we never really had a launch date. And somebody blogged about it and said it was coming in November, and I was like, okay, well, we're committed. So eventually, I think there's the good side of planning, but you also need to set yourself a goal to get it going. So
That's what
there's planning, but you can also let it stagnate a lot.
Yeah, but we set a goal, but still, plan up front. Don't think you're gonna like fix stuff later. It's difficult to do. Second thing that worked for us is to schedule it. A lot of blogs and content on the internet will just release at any random time, and that's good for a lot of different mediums, but we wanted to make a show. We wanted to have like a weekly show, and we wanted to take some cues from old media, like television, and have a day that we release it. So every Tuesday, we release a new episode, and what we found is that actually ended up being very Pavlovian. We get a lot of direct traffic to our site, and some of that's from Twitter, but a lot of it is people actually like typing in the URL on Tuesday. They type in, DocType TV on Tuesday because they know, oh, it's Tuesday, it's time for another episode of DocType.
And some good examples of that would be, like webcomics like XKCD, where it's, out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and, you sort of get into that schedule where there's a part of your life, and you're like, what day is it? And, this thing is out this day. So there's a lot of different things, in my life, especially on the web, that are well scheduled, and, that day it just sort of clicks into your head, like, oh, it's, it's Wednesday, I'm gonna go check out this webcomic.
Oh yeah, there's lots of stuff that like, I know it's like a certain day and I go to, that website. It really, really helps. It really helps out, our traffic a lot. Next thing I would say is edit it. A lot of people like to just, sit down, start recording a podcast, and it ends up being like 2.5 hours long and then release it. I don't know about you, but like I got a lot of stuff to do, and I don't have time to, listen to a 2-hour podcast that comes out every week, and listen to, enough podcasts that I feel like I have kind of like a well-rounded view of, the web. I would much more trend towards editing stuff and cutting it down to, really just the content, get a little bit of banter in there, but really, try to get to the point. Our show is heavily edited. It's kind of taken to the extreme. We've actually backed off on that a little bit, but I would, I've cut it down as much as you can. Keeping our show to like 10, 12 minutes, sometimes even like 8 minutes, has really helped us. And people have given us feedback saying like, oh, I love your show because I can just watch it like during a break at work. So that's really helped us out. Next thing I'd say is have good audio. I would rather have crappy video and good audio rather than the other way around. Because if you can't hear what a person is saying, it's kind of useless. You don't need to have great audio. That's why I said have good audio. Like you don't need to have like a 7.1 surround mix with THX mastering and everything. But it needs to be good enough that the words that someone is saying are intelligible. And lastly, on this line of tips, I'd say that traditional media really got right. A lot of people now like to denounce traditional media and be like, oh, you know, we're all social media web 2.0 now, and you know, TV and newspapers and stuff are stupid. I don't subscribe to a newspaper. I don't have cable, but at the same time, I acknowledge that there are a lot of really great lessons to be learned from traditional media, and I feel like the podcasting community on the internet now is really largely ignoring a lot of those things, like scheduling, for example. So the next part of this talk is kind of about a hiatus we took recently. Like I said, we did a lot of planning up front, and then we got going producing an episode every week, and that train started moving, and we wanted to make some improvements, and we were like, how are we gonna find the time to do this stuff? And another reason we took hiatus is we kind of fell into a particular format. It wasn't bad, but we wanted to open up the show to do other things. We had a web design segment and a web development segment, and we still do that. But we also wanted to do things like interviews and book reviews, and just different stuff. So on one of our episodes, we said we're gonna take a hiatus for a couple weeks, and we're gonna spend some time, reflecting on the show so far. This was 36 episodes in, and we also spent a lot of time during that couple-week hiatus. We improved the show, but we also spent a lot of time talking with our community and even talking to individual people, trying to figure out what they wanted out of the show. We were like, this is your show just as much as it is ours, and we want to know what you want to learn or what you want to see on the show. So this is our old set, and this is our new set, which is a lot nicer, a lot easier for us to manage, and it just looks better. The lesson we learned just from these two screenshots by comparing these is that having really good lighting helps a heck of a lot. If you look at this first screenshot, first we didn't have a whole lot of space, so we're kind of standing right up against the wall, and if you look at me and Jim, we really look pretty flat. And if you look at this screenshot, there's a lot more dimensionality there. There's a lot more depth to the shot. There's foreground, middle ground, background, and that all comes from just having really good lights. We use two softboxes to light, to light the set and to light us, and then we have two kick lights in the back that kind of light the background a little bit. Yeah.
Still need a little bit of backlight for you, just to give yourself a little bit of a lighting rim.
Yeah.
To separate you from the background.
Actually, if you look, well, you can't really see it on the screen, but we did originally have a fluorescent light in the back to kind of, try and knock out some of those shadows, and we think that will probably end up putting the.
Well, it's not really to knock out the shadows, but a light
to
your back.
This actually is a really poor projector.
Anytime you put something on projection, you lose.
So they're actually, there's a 500 watt light 2 feet behind him, and really in the show it gives both of us a good amount of back. It looks really dark in the projection here. But we definitely did notice that as we started with the 2 front soft boxes, and we had a couple of just normal incandescent lamps, and we put them on either side of the back, sort of pointing up, hitting the wall, hitting us, and it just it brings out a lot of definition.
Yep.
Do you guys play around with green screen or phone key?
We've started to. We do have a wall where we shoot against a white backdrop for some other videos we make, and we're thinking about doing some chroma key stuff. We did some quick tests, and it looks like our lighting setup is pretty good for that. We just need to get a better screen, so we'll probably end up getting one of those nylon pop-up ones, just because of the wrinkles. We don't have time to steam iron it and stuff like that. We don't want to mess with that. But anyway, getting back to the talk, good lighting helps a heck of a lot. We grossly underestimated the value of good lighting when we first started, so that's one thing we improved. Next, we have these foam mattress pads from Walmart, like I said, and that worked pretty well to kind of absorb some of the echo in the room. We now have like a full audio treatment in or acoustic treatment rather in our studio, and that really helped the quality of the audio a lot. It really cut out a lot of the echo that we didn't even realize was there. This is pretty expensive. Fortunately, the company we work for helped us out with this.
But also, I mean, we do make money on the ads, and that's
Right.
the biggest thing is that, we started off on our show having embedded sponsor spots that we produced that were read by us in the show, and we started charging on episode 1. Obviously, the price was low for the risk, but once it was proven, we're able to keep going and keep getting it. So the show makes money. It's not quit our job money, but it's enough that as we wanted to improve our set and buy TV, rent some space,
Yeah.
it's not draining our personal accounts. It was we
Right.
made back the initial investment on sort of the initial set in a few episodes, and then we started surplusing, and we were able to sort of move up to higher end equipment, higher end sets. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to have advertising in your spot. Try to be respectful to your viewers about it. Try to find good advertisers and try to make it worth it. But if you're going to set up something, try to find a way that will make it support itself. Because if you don't have any way to make money, eventually it's going to be a drain on your bank account, and it's going to become sort of a drain on your life. So.
It's cheap, but it's not that cheap. it's cheap relative to how much video production normally costs. But yeah, that's something I've largely ignored in this talk. But yeah, we had advertising from the first episode, and we made sure we had advertising in the first episode, even if we had to give it away for a low price, because we wanted to set the precedent with our audience. And so far, like I think 2 or 3 people have ever complained about it, and it's a free podcast. And so what do you say to those people? Here's a refund. I don't know, but we try to be like super respectful to our audience with advertisements, and they're kind of like the old time, like Laramie cigarettes ads, where the host of the show like talks about it and talks about the product and stuff, rather than the more jarring experience that you have on television, where it's like a totally different thing. Like an ad has nothing to do with the show that you're watching. And we find that those integrated ad spots work a lot, work really well. So yeah, good acoustics help a lot. This is another thing that we kind of found out. We kept wanting to have somebody to help us just like run cameras and run audio and do the clapboard and stuff. And we figured out that we can get away with just having it still be the 2 of us just by having a lot of remotes. So on the left, we have a remote that controls kind of like our slides during the show. There's the camera remote, and then we actually rigged up all of our lighting onto a remote control power strip. I mean, I think you did that.
Yeah, so in our latest set, we have it's sort of an office space, so we have drop ceilings, and we got these cool brackets where we could hang our lights from, which are really nice. Because our old set we had tripods, and if you can get away with not having tripods and stuff on the floor, it really opens up the space. Because our new studio isn't that much larger in square footage, but everything's hanging from the ceiling, and all the wiring is sort of velcroed to the ceiling. And we have this remote control power strip that's on the ceiling and controlling all the lights. So there's tons of floor space to get around. You sort of have to duck around it, but we're able to trigger, turn on power to 4 lights all at once with one switch, which is really important because it's 2,000 watts of lighting in a very small room, and it gets hot very, very quickly.
So you want to be able to keep the lights off as much as you can. So, but yeah, we found that having a bunch of remotes to just kind of do stuff really is a big help. So this is our normal set. This isn't like a screenshot of the show. This is just a picture I took. We built our new desk out of IKEA end tables, $8, and or $8 each. And I think we bought like 12 of them.
Yeah, there's 12 integrated in that.
website. But they just have these really cool end tables. They're black end tables, and they're like $8 each. And they make really cool, like, just like almost like Lego blocks that you can just build stuff out of.
And this came from originally our old set was 2 card tables in a V, sort of a V configuration. But card tables aren't, you know, about that high, and we needed, you know, this high. And so we originally actually bought a whole bunch of those to put those tables on. So we had tables on tables. And we designed a new set with like these things are cheap, good, reasonable looking things. And so how this set works is there's actually 3 pieces, and they're just 3 of them stacked on each other with another tabletop in the front for the base of it.
And when you see it on camera, it looks really, really good. You'd have no idea that it was built of, you know, cheap end tables. We also made our set modular so that we can kind of pull it apart and do different setups. So like if we were to do like a Skype interview with somebody and we wanted them on TV, we could do like a 2-shot and, you know, have like the TV and back and forth. We kind of had like this wider desk. But this ended up being a really, really good decision because not only can we have different setups, we can also move it out of the way when, you know, we're not using it. And in a really small space, that's pretty important. And last thing I want to say is it doesn't need to be perfect. The only part that needs to look good is the part that's on camera. And so you can see that we're not carpenters. I mean, we bought IKEA tables instead of just, you know, buying like wood. So.
You taking your boxer shorts, Nick?
Huh?
You stand there with your
We do have a
shirt
pants
on.
policy,
Oh, yeah.
just out of respect for each other.
Yeah, no, we do usually wear pants. But
But you don't have to.
yeah, you'd never know. But
viewers.
that's pretty much our talk. Like I said, our site is at doctape.tv. You can follow us at doctape.tv on Twitter. And I guess if anybody has any questions, that would be.
Yeah, so I saw the 2 cameras. Are you switching over back and forth different shots?
Yeah, we have we record with two cameras, and we just record like both of them at the same time, and then we edit them together in Final Cut Pro.
So you're not doing it live.
Yeah, no, we're not doing live editing.
We're
Like,
definitely not that good.
yeah.
So I mean, that's where, you know, the clapperboard comes in handy because you definitely have to synchronize the 2 video streams, get your scene markers, and be able to synchronize them. So, you know, having a movie clapperboard is really important.
Yeah,
Seems
the
sort of
movie,
cheesy
it's
at
not
first.
just for show. Like it seemed really cheesy at first, but I was like editing like one of our first episodes. I was like, wow, this is like actually really important to have this there. Yeah.
What house is your studio? An office building?
So yeah, we originally started, the old studio was the 2nd bedroom in my apartment, so I was able to repurpose my office, and it was a fairly standard apartment bedroom, white walls.
I mean, you can see kind of the Florida orange peel drywall there. So I mean, it, you know, it was a spare bedroom.
And then for the new one, we actually have an office in a downtown Orlando building, CoLab, and they were building us some new offices down the hall from us, so it's still about the same size. They painted it with some gray and blues, and it has a drop ceiling, which is really helpful because that adds us, the drop ceiling is echo reducing as well. And so you get the sound treatment already on the ceiling, and you're able to put other treatments along the sides.
So that worked out really well. Yeah.
So how do you manage your video and your archives? Do you use something like a Brightcove media player or something like the management system? Or do you
We're
just
familiar with Brightcove, yes.
We don't use Brightcove for this project. We use it in our day-to-day work, which is why we don't use it for this project.
Yeah.
We for a while we were using Viddler as our main.
Sorry?
We were using Viddler.
It's a video hosting service, kind of like, you know, YouTube or Blip or whatever.
We chose them. They were a professional service. They had a pretty good player and some good analytics and stuff. There is a price associated with that, and eventually it became not worth the price because
It got way, way too expensive when we were really, you know, hitting our stride. And so
Well, you sell advertisement though, so doesn't that kind of, can you offset that on some of the things?
yeah, we can offset it, but when we did the cost-benefit analysis, switching to YouTube made a huge difference for our distribution. So really, we put everything up onto YouTube during our hiatus, The video players are better. People haven't been complaining too much anymore about it because there's been a lot of complaints about the flat player before.
Yeah.
And it's just opened up the amount of distribution channels that people can access it on. So
We use Blip, blip.tv for hosting our raw MP4 files, and we offer those available to download off of our website, and we also push those to iTunes. Blip costs $8 a month. There's no bandwidth limits, and that is awesome. We were using Viddler, like Jim said, but it just got way too expensive. People were asking, where's the HTML5 player? Why doesn't it work on like my iPad? Stuff like that. And so we were like, let's just switch to YouTube. It's free. They have, they upload a limit to 15 minutes. Our show never runs over like 12 minutes. And I also like that you can scrub around a lot easier, like scrub through the video on YouTube. Viddler, I've always had trouble with that. I don't know if that's just me, but YouTube just made a lot of sense. It's on like every device, just works.
So do you guys push your video from Blip to YouTube with their internal tool?
Yes.
actually, yeah.
Yes, we do. So we upload to Blip once, and then we push to iTunes, we push to Roku, YouTube, and I think there's one more. I think that about covers it. Yeah.
There's a lot of
So if you're not doing it, obviously, so you're pushing it up there, so do any of your viewers say that they'd like to see it live so they can have participation?
We haven't had that request yet, but interestingly enough, we actually work for Personified, and we're going over to London in a week, and so we had to shoot 2 episodes yesterday to have an episode for this Tuesday and the following Tuesday during Future Web Apps London. We're going to be at the Personified offices in Bath the following Tuesday, and we don't have an episode for that Tuesday. So we're kind of thinking, well, maybe we could do like a live QA or something. We haven't experimented with live stuff really at all yet, but it's something we're interested in trying, certainly.
I guess I need to do another point about something that Doctype is. When we started Doctype, we were working together at another company, and if you're not familiar with Personified, they put on events like Future Web Apps. They're a pretty big name in that. They have a lot of blogging and
Just a poll, who's heard of Personified? Who knows? Do like half the room?
So, if you had told me a year ago that I'd be working on it, I wouldn't have, working with them, I would not have believed you.
They're awesome.
But, in January, we approached them for advertising. We struck a deal where they would syndicate it on their blog, and we sort of formed a relationship there. And then they wanted to have a new product for video-based web education with ThinkFinder and membership. They put out a call for web developers and web designers who can do video. And so we emailed them.
I just saw this tweet from Ryan Carson, and I just emailed Jim. I was like, should we do this? And he emailed them, and
he knew who we were. He saw the experience, and this got us the job, our dream jobs, really. And so, never really know what these types of things are going to get you, but you really follow your passion. I know it's Chris Coyer's original.
yes.
His blogging slides. A lot of his blogging talk applies to this. You got passionate about what you do, and list posts are great.
And be really, really patient. I know it's not a fun thing to hear. I always want to just I'm all about instant gratification, but you gotta be patient with this kind of stuff. We were working on, we've been working on Doctype for almost a year, but
Please.
but
You're
only-
cutting, you're 7 minutes into the next speaker.
Oh, really?
Sorry. Is that-
Absolutely, yeah.
I thought we were the last talk.
No, yeah, we're sneaking
Oh.
after you, but
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll
Well,
cut it
it's okay,
off now.
wrap up.
I guess we're done then.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.